name.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
Welcome to the
Hello.
147 episode of DevKami.
Yeah.
I have a new assistant. My name is Jimin. Desktop. I'm reading
I
in
am
front of the
Tristan.
screen.
I'm Chi Leong
Yeah.
because
I will,
we need to follow the sequence by the
yes.
clockwise sequence.
Yes.
And we have
And
we
also,
have new microphones. Swimming now has
yes.
his microphone. I'm showing my
Yes.
microphone.
Yes.
We're now professional podcasters apparently because we have nice microphones.
Next thing I need is
Uh-huh.
the headphone as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
You need like what they like neutral, open-ended headphones
No, I
for
don't I don't like
clear
this kind
sound.
of headphone because my head is too big apparently.
Mm.
Correct. So let's go through event. And also, just so you know, this week I was a bit lazy. I did not create any event page. But that being said, Women Who Code KL actually had a workshop.
Nice.
I think it's Women Who Code KL, right? Is it?
I have no idea.
I think
Let's check it out.
so. Yeah. Go to
It's meetup link. Yeah.
yes. Yeah, this is okay. I do not know who did that anymore. Oh
The
well.
women who could shared by Nicholas.
Yeah, it's women who code. Yeah, it is women.
Yeah. So if pandas is actually very powerful if you do data analysis. A bit heavy but very powerful. Uh, so if you want to learn about this, uh, join the workshop.
It's always
It's
good to
worth
learn
it.
something new.
Correct.
Even if you're
And
not doing Python,
Yeah.
because the techniques
Even
are
though you're
transferable.
not doing data related work as well.
Yeah.
correct. So it's a good idea to actually understand how the data guys work because uh, software engineering and data sometimes is at odds with each other for some reason. So it's good to learn lah.
Yeah.
So next thing is we literally have nothing happening until the week after actually.
Mm.
So with that said, let's go to our bus corner, which I kind of mix off the tab, my fault. Two things that we will not discuss now, we'll discuss later is DevKami had a developer survey. Overwatch had a new top 10 list. It's shuffling around now. But the first one is, do you know who is Sir Clive Sinclair?
Yeah. I think he did the Sinclair ZX 80.
Correct.
Yeah,
So
the well,
ZX80
ZX Spectrum according to this.
is a is a CPU and it's also the core of the ZX Spectrum. Is a computer.
He's
What
a
happened?
he's a brick, right?
Yes, he's a breed, and he actually
So
very
it's ZX.
yes.
Because
ZX.
ZX.
He's also a very prominent inventor. He invented a lot of stuff, but he primarily known for computer. And more importantly, he is because of him. There's a whole generation of software engineers, computer scientists, etc. in the United Kingdom, thanks to what he have done.
Yeah, and this one, not the Spectrum. My first computer that I remember was a
Yeah,
ZX81.
yeah.
So because my father somehow has a ZX81 and a tape reader, and I didn't know how to type things. I just remember that's how it looks like, and then my father would
Mhm.
like load programs through tape, and then I can play
Yeah.
games. But I didn't know how to program that time. I only programmed on an Apple II. But yeah,
Yeah,
I remember the ZX81 was my first actual experience with a computer.
correct. Cool. So he also do a lot of invention and turns out. So yeah, rest in peace, sir, and thanks for the contribution.
Yeah.
Mm.
The next one is we have Unicode version 14. So what's important here is there is more script for Arabic, African languages, Southeast Asian languages. There's a read cookie script is historically used to write Albanian languages. So one of the interesting things about Unicode is in early on they add all the living language. Later they add some more obscure language on the periphery, and nowadays they even add languages that is essentially dead. So, for example, Sanskrit actually have their own character set in Unicode. So yeah,
Mhm.
historical language also have scripts on Unicode now because we can. There's so many space on it.
And this is
So
also why you buy font sets, because
correct,
standards are updated and you want updates for your fonts. You might
correct,
think that fonts are free, but it's actually quite difficult and time consuming and takes money to update
correct.
font sets.
Yes. And it's pretty important because currency are actually part of the Unicode instead of it used to be very it's one of those weird extra character set. So they have Minoan. It's really interesting actually. Then of course there's some technical update like line breaking algorithms because Unicode support multiple languages. So can you imagine? You have to imagine that they will support Arabic, which write on a different direction from say Chinese or English. So right to
Mm.
left to right. So you have all these algorithms, text annotation, all that is, and there is 100
Yeah.
abilities, which is
And that is why you shouldn't use Python 2 anymore,
yes,
because
Stop using it.
you're not
correct.
going to be supporting Unicode.
So one of the more interesting thing for one of the more fun thing is uh, Unicode 14 also all these Unicode update will also include emojis.
Hmm.
So you have saluting face. Oh, interesting. That is new. I didn't realize it's new. Daughter FaceTime. Uh, Hard hand. I didn't know this doesn't exist yet. Interesting. Biting lips. Pregnant man.
Pregnant
Because
man.
it may sound funny because there is men that have woman parts for reason. So yeah, coral very very cool for conservation.
True. But yeah,
Yeah,
I think it
it is
is just a.
beans. Just what I need for red bean army. Okay, I'm moving on. Let's
Is
go back.
there an animal set here?
Not this
No.
time, but occasionally they do have
Mm.
it. So they
When
also
are
have
they?
identification.
When are they going to have our mascot?
I don't know.
You know, there's a.
No,
You know, my name has a emoji.
Mm.
yeah. Let me see whether there's
I got
tag
an
here.
emoji for my name. It's the CL emoji.
I don't think
Mm.
there's tag here. I don't think there's animal. There's a lot of animal, but it could take
Well,
a
yeah.
while to
There's the
load.
pig and the duck and the thing, right? The hamster. So yeah, there you go.
So
Why do you have two pigs?
Oh,
there's
that's one's
pig
the
face and
frontal.
pig.
And the
I don't
ball.
know.
The pig one is a
That's
unsettlingly.
yeah. Well, a pig is a pig. That's
Yeah, but
discrimination.
then
You know,
there's
a
a
boar is
bunch
a
of
boar.
other. Yeah, then there's a ball. There's a
Mm.
the nose.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
should do. We should sponsor. Okay, so if you adopt a character, you can actually do that.
Hmm.
So there is way for
Oh,
us to support this kind of thing. So we need to give a
is it
proposal, and
still a
somebody
draft or it's final right now?
this final the new
Okay.
character sets are
So
the
the
final.
different vendor will start to come up with their better, the cleaner looking one. The one that we had were
Correct,
pretty rugged. Like this is pretty rugged.
correct. So what I hope to see is somebody had a generate somebody need to create. I will share the link on how to propose a new emoji, but essentially to do that you need to have a design that is generate and all that and submit to Unicode Foundation. But generally it works better if there is sponsors. So
Mm.
yeah, a sponsor from the members. So
We
yeah,
need to
this
adopt a
emoji
cafe.
correct. Somebody that you know. I don't think she's online right now. Did drop a message. Let's move on. Uh, So this is a website. We cannot access this anymore. It's
Yeah.
called My People.
The sad thing is that the investigation. I actually launched several reports to PDP,
yeah,
and like it's only like this come up that they're gonna take action. It's a bit sad that way.
Yeah,
Yes, you-
after it becomes
It has to blow up.
well
Yeah,
known.
you have to be a PR
Oh well,
disaster before you take action.
it's not accessible anymore, but you can still access it through Google Cache.
Actually, if you
like
Google
certain
it,
pages.
Yo,
like if you Google like phone number list or something on Google, and you just Google it, then you can get all these people that sell contact lists.
yeah. So Cobots. Sorry. So you can access it through Tor, by the way. I'm not saying you should. I'm saying you can.
It's not a surprise. The data are already out there.
Correct.
Yeah, it's just easier to access, but I mean, this is not something that like people interviewing other people and then exposing it, right? These are most likely
Correct.
scraped from sites and then correlated.
Actually,
And remember
it's a
back
bit
then, there's
worse.
a big database leak
Telco
on
leak,
the
yeah.
from the telco.
Yes.
Mhm.
So there's a leak from telco. There is leak from social media. Then all you do is combine. You don't even need to scrape. So if there's nothing to add, let's go on.
I think
So Microsoft have a big patch for security. This is like the pre-nightmare. Then
yeah. Then after that, today also there's another vulnerability for macOS.
yeah,
That one is
A lot of
that one is quite like dangerous because it's you can it's like you're back in the 90s. The viruses, you just open an attachment and you have a virus.
yeah. Oh yeah.
It's quite because nowadays it's very difficult to have an auto executable thing on from an attachment unless it's Microsoft Word. But now and then those viruses are limited to Microsoft Word documents. But now this is like a full system on attack. It's a very bad vulnerability.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Once the update is out, start updating your computer. This is a scary thing. Let's move on.
Yeah, apparently,
Also,
yeah. So the news
Uh-huh.
here is that apparently Apple knew about it. They did not assign a CVE, but the patch that they gave is not enough. Like it can be easily circumvented by
Yeah.
changing character case. So it looks like their regex, for some reason, is not case sensitive. So
Yeah.
there you go.
So
Sorry, their regex is case sensitive, but it should have been case insensitive. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
take care of the computer, update it, and if you don't need to use it, disconnect it from the internet. Okay, maybe not that. Let's move on.
Use a Pi for your pfSense firewall or something.
Yes. So next thing, so Windows hosting on exabyte. So this is actually a ransomware attack. Not very technical, but it's a very big attack in the way that because exabyte is a big hosting company. Yeah, and interestingly, they do Windows. I know they do Windows hosting. I know they do Windows hosting, but I find it interesting that this happened.
Yeah, at least they are public about it. That's which is. But I'm not a customer. I don't know to what extent that it affect it. But at least it's a good practice that they announce it.
Correct. So
I don't know that there's a lot of the things I want to add is there's a lot of people that whenever this happen, there are gonna be a lot of security expert on the internet.
Yeah, correct. At least for some reason, nobody actually comment about this. This is scary.
Getting hacked or getting infected are not something that I would like on my enemy.
Yes.
Correct. So it's not something to be like schadenfreude or happy about when somebody else got it.
Correct. So this one is actually a tool. There is a Windows tool apparently called Cobalt Strike that actually make tools malware undetectable. So now there's a version for Linux now.
Nice.
Yes. Oh no, I'm using Linux, I'm using Windows. I should switch to Mac right now. God damn it. Also, this one is
Well, if
there's
you
also
if you run
Go
a
on.
stateless Linux one installation like the Red Hat Atomics or Alpine or like something, like whenever you restart, everything get clear up, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I suspect as well. Because if it cross-platform, it's most likely gonna be written in code.
Yeah,
Mhm.
correct.
That's why,
But
yeah, that's why for a short period of time, any Go binary is flagged by the Window Defender.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, but there is actually legitimate use for this. I know you don't like it, but the this is actually Compulsory is actually very popular in CTF.
Well, I didn't say I don't like it.
Yeah. So
I
what I'm
actually
saying
use
that
these tools are actually useful for like even like I use these kind of tools to check whether our system has issues and stuff like that.
correct.
So
Because
it's just that how people gonna it's gonna be abused lah. Same goes like drugs lah.
correct. But there's this old adage from key makers of Britain. To create a better key, you make things open. This is not a dash from computer security. It's from key makers as well. So because the best type of defense are those that we know about and we know how to fix. So instead of hiding it, then nobody knows about it until it's too late.
Yeah, tell that to the enterprise folks lah.
Yeah, correct. So unfortunately, the enterprise people are not very tough.
I'm feeling a bit sorry about some of the mode. I'm feeling a bit bitter today, so my remarks are gonna be swayed towards that.
No, but yeah, the best type of security is provable security.
Correct.
Like you can prove it
Yep.
that it's secure. If it's obscure, it's difficult to prove.
Yeah.
Correct.
But if you like,
I
for
mean-
example, like cryptographic security, it's
Yeah.
provable.
That's why don't be a
Yeah.
smart ass and do it your own.
Yeah, make your
Correct.
own.
All these
algorithm.
security algorithms are tested every year. There's a competition to break it,
Correct.
like by the best minds in the world. So
Correct. So
By the CIA.
yeah,
Yeah.
by no such agency and that as well. So two things from Kickstarter that's interesting. Bangle 2. This is actually the second version of the Hackable Smartwatch which you can code with JavaScript.
Yeah, we had an episode in DevKami before. We introduced Bangle JS1 when it came out. I think I showed Bangle JS2 the hardware, but not this one. Well, it's the same. It's the same hardware. It's just that the software has been evolving since like 2 years ago. I think a year ago.
Correct.
When I showed that watch. So now it's like ready for actual purchase.
Correct.
It's not that expensive actually.
Oh really? How much? Let me go down. It's
Well, I got
$59.
I got the super early bird, so it's 59 pounds. So I think
200
it's about 300 ringgit because they're shipping. It's unfortunately because it mentions as well in the FAQ, they are shipping from the UK and it's Brexit, and so you have to ship via DHL or UPS so that they can actually pay taxes. Because before they didn't have to pay taxes until they got out of Europe. So they just like centralize everything the courier company they chose is DHL. They have to pay taxes, and they have delivery or shipping charges, which is like 15 pounds to Malaysia from the UK.
What sensor do they have on this? It's just basic stuff.
Yeah, there's a list down there near the bottom. The specifications. Well, you can search for NRF 52840.
Okay. Let me check sensor first. So
No,
there
it won't
is-
say sensor, and yeah, but if you want the actual list, there you go.
Here you are. So temperature, air pressure, accelerometer standard, heart rate standard, GLONASS. Oh, interesting, GLONASS.
The Russian satellites.
No, nowadays GPS and GLONASS, GPS will fall back to GLONASS for a reason. Because GLONASS had a bigger range compared to, let's say, Galileo. That's a European one. European one had been delayed for a while. That's another story altogether. One day we should go to that, maybe. I don't know.
This is a full
Interesting.
touchscreen as well. So you have a full
Cool.
touchscreen, and the display is very nice. It's a
Yeah.
transflective. So you know LCD, like your monitors, right? LCDs.
Yeah.
You have a backlight. The LCD matrix has like RGB,
Mm-hmm.
and then you shine light through it, and then you
Yeah.
see the color. This one, that's why it can be always on. Is you don't need the
Mm-hmm.
backlight if you have something like sunlight. So it's
Cool.
reflecting through, like it's that's why it's transflective. It's reflecting through the LCD, reflecting
Mm-hmm.
back up, and then you can see the display. So,
Cool.
for example, if daytime you don't need a backlight, it's
Yeah.
always on. And then if you need a backlight, I think the firmware now is doing like if you press the button, then the backlight turns on. So the battery life is about 2 weeks. Getting better
Cool.
again because this is software, mostly software improvements. So
Yeah.
if you flash latest firmware, then you get the benefits like longer sleep times or longer Bluetooth wake ups, etc.
Cool. So the last one, the last thing we have, this is actually something that I bet, but a bit more expensive. But this is actually the OD like. So OpenCV, I think this is supported by OpenCV, not an actual project by OpenCV. I could be wrong. They actually have what we call the AI camera. This is actually a camera optimized to run neural networks, actual neural networks. So we're talking about full TensorFlow, not even TensorFlow like. And you actually use this to do onboard image detection, those quote unquote edge AI, which I don't like. But you will run your detection online, and it comes with sensor. So this thing can do 3D. So generally, the reason you use 3D is for self-driving car or anything that need navigation. So for example, okay, it's not used on a vacuum cleaner, it's too expensive, but let's say you work in a robot lab, you want to do what we call SLAM, spatial localization and mapping. You will use a 3D camera. Previously, that you use things like Kinect and ViewSense from Intel. So this is an alternative. And so 3D detection allows you to do gesture, so full body dancing and all that. So even though you're not doing neural network, you can use it as a game controller. But generally, people use it for self-driving car. Uh, let's see. So you can do a lot of stuff. What I'm interested is actually machine learning level work. So the so-called machine learning is actually So you do that. What else you can do? This small, so you can put it on your bike on your small drone. I think it's interesting, a bit expensive, but really interesting, and it's easily programmable with the GUI-based programming, or you use the standard tools like Python.
Is it ready already? The Kickstarter is to ramp up the production, or is for the prototyping, or
No, this will be delivered. This will be delivered.
is the pledge for to ramp up the production?
Correct. So you can use it for ROS, a robot operating system, etc. So so what I want to do with this is that you remember the avatar that I worked with. I want to give the avatar an eye, just because I'm crazy. So anything you want to ask about? Oh yeah, there even support putting it on robot. But anything you want to add before we go on?
No, I don't be a
No.
robot.
Cool. So I think I might support Bengal JS as well, just because.
It's quite interesting. You will,
Yeah.
if you want. Well, past episodes we've talked about it, but you can do a lot of home automation, for example, through a Bluetooth Wi-Fi MQTT bridge. So
Right.
usually with the Pi, because a Pi has both Bluetooth and Wi-Fi,
Mm-hmm.
you run Node-RED on the Pi. It listens for Bluetooth signals and then
Mm-hmm.
transforms them to MQTT sent over your Wi-Fi network. So if you have
Yeah.
something like a Sonoff or like something on your Wi-Fi that is connected to a circuit, you can turn them on and off or control your air conditioner through like a remote control driven by a microcontroller connected by Wi-Fi. So all of these things.
Yeah. Oh, I don't want to touch you now. What the hell? That's not a dashboard. Is this a dashboard or is this a presentation? Okay, let's. So enough with toys we want to get. Christmas is how many months away?
2
1 month, 2 months
one-
away.
2
So
months away.
I don't mind a gift, but let's move on.
No, it's around 2 months or to be exact.
Yeah.
If you're counting the time to prepare and stuff.
Yes. So we don't mind gift. Okay. Let's move on for reals. Okay. Not that long ago, one of the more prominent developer community in Malaysia, software developer, not property developer, by the way, did a survey. So it's called a salary survey. Right, salary survey. I thought this is the dashboard. Okay, it is
It's
the
a
dashboard.
apparently it's a data studio. It says the title
okay.
of the document is dashboard, but it's
Yeah.
a data studio from Google. I guess it
Okay.
automatically updates based on a source sheet.
Okay. Can I update? I don't
No,
know
your
how
only
to.
view. So you can take a look at the upper right. It says your only view. You only have view access. So if you want to
Okay.
change it, you have to copy it to your
Okay.
drive, I
Cool.
guess.
Cool. So, this is actually a horrible. Let me. Know what? Let me open Face. Let me open a new tab. Using a new tab or new Windows. Let me stop my screen anyway, just in case.
Why are you worried about?
Because I had my pawn tab open.
Nobody watch porn with their normal browser window.
Mm.
Oh,
Why
really?
why does swimming have like two microphones? Like it
Yeah,
has like
because more the
two.
better.
Yeah. It's like the cameras, right? You have multi-camera angles.
Yeah.
It's also like multi-microphone angles. And then
The
you switch
18
them.
degree cam.
Let me find the actual visualization. I think the visualization is pretty works better than this. Except it's, oh my goodness, it's okay. It's pretty. I'm an idiot. I know where to search for it. I know where to search for it. Here you are. No. Oh, whatever.
What are we doing?
I'm trying to
Yeah,
find the visualization.
let's just take a look at it for now, and then we can just like search
Yeah.
for it later.
Yes. 4, 3, 2, 1. Here you are. Okay. Okay. I have it. Let me switch. Let me save it to the other tab. Okay. Cool. Hey,
Are you sharing your screen now? Can you share your screen
I'm
now?
going to share my screen now, but it's a bit fiddly actually. So let's start. Actually, there is only two things that's important actually. So this is what you call the education level. It needs to be checked education level and starting monthly salary. So you notice on the median side, there is when you start your starting salary is not really that different actually. If
Yeah, it's
any,
about what you can deliver.
correct. So it makes me feel like I wasted my 4 years in university, but let's go
No, if you
on.
really learn something, you are not wasted.
Yeah, that's the point of that lah. I'm going
Yeah,
there
the
not just
point
for
of education is to make use of the opportunity to learn.
correct. So that's the first interesting thing.
The
So in
the
fact,
salary is just a good side effect.
correct. So in this case, I'll go to master degree, for example. The median is not really that good as a starting salary; it's just around the same.
Why does
there
the I-bars on bachelor degree has so many outliers?
yeah, there's a lot of outliers, but
What
then
is this?
here's what I suspect. Here's what I suspect is happening. Quite a number of the members actually actually work with overseas company. So then,
I think
So-
also that I think also that the majority of the people that answer the survey has a bachelor degree.
yeah, correct.
Yeah,
Because
they probably misunderstood the question. This is your starting monthly salary. And I mean, it's like when you actually graduated bachelor, right? Not when you
Correct.
joined your company right now, when you graduated
Yes.
20 years ago. So I think they
Correct.
misunderstand this question.
Correct. So either a lot of these folks managed to work overseas, had a remote work overseas, or yeah, more likely what you say lah. So that's one interesting thing, observation. Second observation is base
Yeah,
salary.
sorry. Yeah, this one is also very strange because it's just says you have you have a bachelor's degree and then you can basically
What
get
does it
these
mean?
things.
Is the mean?
It's a I-bar thing. So yeah, you have a median
Yeah,
and then you have your
correct.
I forgot the percentages. It's 75% or something.
Yes,
And then
yes,
like lower bound, upper bound, and all of those are outliers. But the problem is
correct,
this needs to be correlated with the number of years of experience as well. Because this doesn't say
correct.
anything. It's like the presence of
And
an attribute and
you have
then
to
your
balance it with the total population as well.
yeah. So this is
Correct.
a bit misleading. Like get a bachelor's degree, it doesn't matter whether you get a master's or a PhD.
Yeah,
You can get this amount anyway. Or like
correct,
a diploma, it's just a diploma. See your I-bar what they call this, your upper bound for your I-bar is quite high. It's like even
correct,
higher than a PhD. So
correct. So
doesn't
so
matter.
which is so yeah. So they don't have a lot of information, but they show enough in a way that
It just represent the population with that answer
correct,
the survey, not
correct.
really all.
But
Oh yeah, that's always a problem with the survey. The problem is like actually analyzing it, not just presenting whatever is there. This is like a
correct,
presentation, but it does not give you the correct analysis
yes.
because you need
But
to
mhm.
yeah yeah
But the thing is,
you need to correlate
uh-huh,
with the amount of experience. Just because you
correct.
graduated bachelor's degree, it matters when you graduated your bachelor's degree versus your salary
Yes,
because the trend is the longer you work, the more experience you have, the higher your salary.
Yeah,
Not
correct,
whether the determine like what this graph basically tells you
I think
that your degree is not a determinant of your
yeah,
salary.
that's
So it
it.
doesn't it
That's
doesn't
it.
make sense to like to the graphs anymore. It like just say
The
yeah, there's no
I think the
correlation.
summary is there is that you can just throw all these identity things out the window.
correct.
Yeah, I
So
put like
developer kaki is more or less skewed toward the younger side, but younger developer in a way that because that's the demography he been aiming. But as a result, they're also wide enough up until maybe my age, the 30s, which is actually pretty wide as a range. So as a result, I can see that. Years of experience is not represented here, as you said, but on the median, software development is one of the more egalitarian. I don't think so. Type of this that the
Meritocratic.
way
It's
meritocratic. That's
more
the word.
meritocratic than I mean it's not
Correct.
perfect, but usually
yeah.
that's the case.
Some
Correct.
Well,
part
at
is
least I hope that's the case.
and also like how fortunate you are
Yes.
probably.
Correct. But I also noticed that often people don't get more than 10K unless of management. That's a thing that we've been talking about since forever lah. So I don't know how to read these.
I would put it as in unless you're burning VC money as a
Yeah,
normal business, it's about like how much the you're gonna bring to the company lah, as simple as that lah.
correct.
So
So
that's why it's
mhm,
skewed towards like management having the higher pay because of the scalability of that.
correct.
Yeah.
So if you look at here, okay, so here actually have the detail on salary. So let's talk about the demography.
Oh,
So it's,
49.
as I say, the demography skewed toward somewhat younger, but it actually reached the 30s, around the 30s. So it's more or less representative until the 40-year-old, right?
I'm just 16.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, these people have a lot of time to go to Facebook groups and
Correct.
comment on
Yes.
DevKami surveys.
Yep.
And also, if you look at this here, more or less the same type of job. He didn't normalize
Yeah,
it.
senior software engineer is definitely not a fresh grad.
Correct. Well, there is people that thinks that they work 3 years, they're senior developers, and they can't do
Okay,
much.
sitting in the office can guarantee you a senior position. Then if that is the mindset is there, then something is wrong.
Correct. So, and you can see on the salary level, more than 4 years should get you like 7K. I think I'm underpaid.
I can throw this basically. I can just throw it out of the window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I strongly suspect that, okay, I don't think Malaysian salary capped at 7,000. You can go a bit higher. So something.
It's
something
somehow a combination of things like company that you look for, and then the financial situation of the company. It's a combination of things. It's not. It's. I mean, if you find your salary is too low, just bloody find a higher one. There's somebody that willing is. It's a market, like you're offering this much, and you're offering this much in exchange. Somebody are willing to offer that much for that. It's nothing to be like to be really sad about. Like nobody.
Yeah.
I don't know. I try not to sound like victim blaming here, because like I work shitty jobs, but it's because like that's the because I'm okay. Like when I choose this, it's just a job. Like, and if I find I need more, then I just move somewhere else.
Correct. So satisfaction level. One thing that sucks about this is 10 good or 10 bad.
What is 300? oh, okay. So 10 is good lah, I think.
Yeah.
This one I cannot guarantee, because definitely there are some bad situation.
Correct.
But the salary part is something that it's something we have more control on. This one in a bit, but sometimes it gets like there are some situation where it's hard to get out, or some.
Correct.
So like it's similar to a relationship. Like if you get gaslighted over the year, you have your confidence level will get affected. Then you affect your being. I mean, the view basically that you can look up there and look for better opportunity.
Correct. So then we look at these. There is this company, and
most are small teams.
Yeah, there is small, or 2 to 10 is reasonably. Yeah,
it's a pretty big size actually. For if it's the team size of all developers, 2 to 10 is a medium size. Consider medium size.
I don't know if this is like just developers. I think this is your team size, so including your product
managers. Yeah.
If it's everybody, then it's a pretty small team.
Yes. Correct.
If it's a team of developer, then it's a pretty big.
Yeah, it's quite large. You probably will want to split it into 2.
Correct. Then there is like number of employees. I do not know how to do.
They are over 10,000. Wow, those are big company.
Maybe they work in Petronas, GLCs.
Yeah.
Because if you look at financial services, if they work in bank, or you work with the unicorns, you can easily reach pretty high numbers.
Does Fave consider itself a financial service?
Yeah, so that's the question as well. But it also makes sense in a way that it's interesting that because so for industry, for anything here, roughly the same. Financial is a bit more interesting because how do you define that? Do Grab count as financial? But then
the super apps, right?
Yeah.
The line is a bit blur across actually.
Correct. But that being said, financial industry, the banks always hiring, so there always are more people. But they don't necessarily represent. My gut feeling tells me the banks are not necessarily the one that represent.
I think the one that sorry to like the company location is the one that might affect the salary range as well. Like remember when we talked with Louis?
Yeah,
like,
correct.
Like certain region the pay grade the range were a bit different.
Yeah.
So
Even Singapore,
those are the types of correlations that I would like to see in those graphs.
Yes.
Salary range versus location.
Even Singapore,
these are the
I'm
things
gonna
that are
just
important.
I'm gonna just take out the salary but it's actually pretty correct up there. Like I'm gonna take out the conversion.
Yeah.
Because if you stay there, you are consuming, like just like Tristan, like he doesn't count in Filipino currency.
Not anymore.
Yeah, it's Malaysian ringgit. So it's if you do you just don't do the conversion. If you stay there, you're gonna use the local currency.
Correct.
Because that's what that's the local price for that.
Yeah, you divide by McDonald's burgers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, if you convert it and compare against your local currency, it's gonna be really skewed.
So Kuala Lumpur, Selangor, that is given bad data, but as I say, a majority.
This one is okay lah. This one said to clean it up need some work as well.
But so let's take away the.
Definitely, the opportunity here is that it's mainly focused in the Klang Valley.
Yeah, correct. So the greater KL, let's put it this way, the greater KL area. So then, interestingly, not as many bootcamp people, and quite a number of people actually studying in
tech.
Studying in software, like quite software and all that lah.
Yeah. I'm not from tech.
Yeah.
So a lot of people a lot of people, they are not confident, like saying that I'm not from tech, so I'm worried about these things. Like,
correct.
But it's
interesting.
Only swimming is
here.
Don't
be worried about that. Don't be worried about that. It's just
correct. I mean, technically, I study AI, but I don't do AI, so yeah.
But I'm gonna say, I think Tristan as well. We are a bit more privileged, as in we grew up in the environment where we have access to computers and these things.
Correct.
There's a privilege on our side, definitely.
Yeah.
Yes,
and that is also the non-tech is probably also an advantage, because we got to learn other things other than what we're working on, and that the connections, like the cognitive connections, like this applies to tech as well, is like quite useful. Like people who came from accounting or finance, for example, and then became a software developer, you'll be in demand.
That's why that's why it's not just people with domain knowledge, they have advantages.
Correct.
Yeah, because building software is not just limited to the software itself.
Correct.
Yeah, that's why your PhD people still use Python too, because it works. They couldn't be bothered.
And also a bit.
No, I'm just kidding.
That, there's a reason why.
It's pretty irresponsible, because people are supposed to replicate their results. If they're gonna use something that's already deprecated, it's not responsible to people. They're gonna.
But it's not their domain knowledge though, so that's the thing.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, that's the downside, of course, with this thing.
Yes. Yeah. So I think there's more type of school than the listed one, which I think is interesting as well. So let's move on. I think here's what I think. Yeah, but I suspect it's skewed toward data, but not by much. Believe it or not by much actually.
Yeah, Trello as well.
Yeah. So these folks are skewed toward Python because it's data.
You know what? Unpopular opinion. I like GCP, AWS. It doesn't matter. It's just if you have a system like the knowledge, the infra knowledge, it doesn't matter what cloud you are using.
Well, actually, yes and no. Yes, I know the big idea. No, all the load balancers.
I mean, unless you're talking about like the products lah.
Yeah, the product driving nets.
Well, and it also depends if your CEO got convinced by the brand ambassador for
Slack.
these GC.
What is this about? Why do I see Slack? Is it a
I think
skill?
the technologies you use, I think.
CoFusion. There's actually a CoFusion shop. I think below my office.
Okay.
Still quite yeah, these older technologies are still useful because a lot of, like, during the booms of 90s, lots of software
You're
were
gonna
still
maintain
written,
it.
and yeah,
Yeah.
that's the thing. That's what new people to the industry are like missing. Like they're missing the point. Like they write something, they write it bombastiously, like quite cool or whatever, but it's not maintainable, and then they leave their companies every 2 years.
I think it's a saying from I'm not sure if I'm quoted the wrong person. I think it's from Ken Thompson or somebody along the line. If you write smart code, you're probably not smart enough to maintain it.
Yeah.
So keep
Clever.
it as
I think
simple
it's
as stupid
clever.
as possible.
Clever code. I think it's clever code.
Clever code. Yeah,
that
you're probably
mostly-
not you're gonna have problem to maintain it.
Yeah.
Yes. So one thing that I noticed here is that there's not a lot about infrastructure.
I
So,
see
for
it probably on the
example,
smaller squares on the lower right quadrant.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
say
so-
one of the most useful skill is that
Uh-huh.
how I'm gonna judge somebody is that if somebody can take up other people's code, regardless how shitty it is, I'll put that as a person that I mean that I can value him highly, him or her or they.
But that's a value for consultants. Like if you're dealing
Also
with
on
legacy
how
code
you are able to figure
day.
out the everything yourself or whatever that is.
Correct.
It's not necessary. Yeah, I'm not saying that maintaining others people code is easy or pleasant.
No, it's not. Yes.
Yeah,
But it's our bread and butter.
it's not
Because
only bread and butter. Like we cannot just keep breaking things and rewrite things.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, precisely. So most of our work are about delivering stuff by not keep writing new code. That's not our job actually. Our job is to deliver something to be used.
Well, we can keep writing new code, but it's understand that the code that we wrote had to be maintained by somebody else.
Correct.
The maturity of that. If we know how to maintain other people's code or fix other people's code, we have the maturity to be more responsible when we develop our own code.
Okay, I think I know where the infrastructure goes actually. AWS.
Yeah, AWS. That's why I say
Kubernetes, GCP, Azure. Okay.
Unpopular
But this
opinion,
is
like,
not yeah.
how many people can operate a Linux?
Yeah. So here's this I don't know, graph or chart is not about, like, it's not arranged by area. It's arranged by area. Sorry, it's not arranged by category. It's arranged by area.
These
That's
are
why
these
Python
keywords,
is the largest is on the upper left. That's the thing. The smallest is on the lower right. That's just how it is.
But something that keeps moving is mobile. Mobile is in an unfortunate mess where every year you have to update it.
Correct.
So, because it's actually not, the platform is owned by somebody else.
Yes.
Especially these days, either Google or Apple, the decision were totally dictated by them. So maintaining mobile code is another kind of monster lah. That I'm not gonna just use the same judgment as the rest.
Correct. So you know what? Once I put up today's episode, I will put these links so that you can explore yourself.
Okay.
I hope. Let's see. So the next thing is we have the Overwatch top 10. So in 2017, the top 10 is.
You'll have to zoom in because it's quite small.
Yeah, I think.
You have to
zoom in the.
I know.
Yeah.
So this is a ranking of the exploit.
Correct. So in 2017, it's like injection. This is like the data injection and all that. Broken authentication, sensitive data exposure, XML identity, broken etc. This year, the top 10 is broken access control, cryptographic failure, injection, insecure
Yeah, because
design.
especially those that use the old one or their homebrew.
Correct. Security misconfiguration, one of the outdated component. This is actually a bit more scary because so many of those exist in the real world.
This one is hard to keep track, the vulnerability and outdated one. But the
Yes.
broken access control is something that we can prevent better. It's not
Yeah.
all these things is not something that I like I say previously, it's not even things that I want my enemy to have it.
Yes. It's a bit messy, but we need to do it properly. I don't do it well. Disclaimer.
That's why
software
having
data
having a thorough view of the whole system, the chain matters
Well,
as well.
So one
If you get
reason
hyper-focus to
why
write, yeah, what
Yeah,
you're
so
talking
one-
about? Is,
one reason why injection has like gone down is because frameworks guard by it by default, right? Like
Yes, correct.
best
correct.
practice for
And-
the framework, you don't do SQL string interpolation.
and most of the database driver they already have sort of
Yeah.
sanitizations in there.
Yeah,
Correct.
and the way most of like because broken access control most likely is a result of human like failure, right? Like because
Yes.
you're human, you forget things, and so that like okay, we'll push this to production because we need to finish things, and then we forget to patch whatever workarounds
Yep.
that we did.
Yep.
And that's why usually frameworks that already enforce good patterns, they should be able to like help because this is a security issue, and uh, this is part of the responsibility. I wouldn't say really responsibility, yeah, but I guess so. Responsibility of the framework to
Yep.
maintain best practices to actually support developers so that they don't move the wrong direction.
Yeah, and hopefully they can
ex-
learn from the.
Mm.
I think something that can be pretty useful is that especially when they can explain why these certain mechanisms are there.
Yep.
I mean, for most people, some of the security features they're definitely gonna feel like it's too troublesome, make their life harder.
Yes.
Like one example there is like the MongoDB insecure by default, like
Mhm.
open by default, and there have been like for
Correct.
many years, like open MongoDB.
Yeah, they're open to listen to all
installations.
interface by default.
Yeah, because that's the installation by default, right? And
Yeah.
then because that was the initial setup, people, if it's the momentum is there, it's quite difficult for MongoDB to switch
Yep.
their instructions, the installation, because people
the-
are used to having it open by
Yeah,
default.
this is what I'm gonna call it. They got used to the behavior.
Yep.
It's backward compatibility in terms of behavior
Mhm.
of this kind of like it's no, they're gonna either they bite the bullet and set a default and break some softwares.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's why some of these things have to be we definitely cannot like put it there after I mean as a hindsight.
Correct.
It has to be pre-planned a bit. I mean, not necessarily everything can be I mean predicted. It's just that we can try to control as much as we can. The one
Correct.
that I want to say to end in the software and data integrity failure is something the word that might be familiar to everyone these days is supply chain.
Yep.
Supply chain attack.
Yeah, where one of them get because you trust the source then you
Yeah.
you assume that the chain of the source is gonna be valid.
Correct.
Yeah,
So nowadays, nowadays you don't use your own software, so a typo can cause it, or use AWS layer. I do not know whether Amazon actually verify it, but there's one way.
Well,
So
yeah. So
using
these are
cloud
like
is one way to
yeah, so those supply chain attacks are like the generic ones, right? This does not really capture like targeted attacks. Like let's say I want to target Petronas. I want
Yep.
to and somehow like their developers are working in a cafe, I can set up like a Wi-Fi access point, change
Yeah,
like the
not really, because
DNS
you
to
look at from the description, it's actually assumption on relying on automated, or
yeah.
basically automated way to download the software without verifying the integrity.
Mhm. So also Overwatch focus on general attack, not state. Okay,
State
not
sponsor
necessarily
one are
state
more complicated,
sponsored.
like which
Correct.
like it's I don't know, we probably should cover some of it. Like basically some of them, if I really have to worry about them, I cannot sleep.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, if you're targeted, you're almost like
Yeah,
you can't escape anymore because
yeah,
Correct.
well, you're if in the first place, if you're a target, you're probably doing something really, really
yeah. I think that's
Yeah.
I
strange.
suspected that for some of the ransomware cases also.
Yes. So in
Which is
fact,
yeah, and sorry,
maybe
and
next week.
because of the ransomware, going for the by your comment, I'm not sure if you were backstage, that it's these internet experts, they don't really know what happened. Like they just gonna say people like you have to improve your security, etc. But again, if your operation is targeted, like specifically targeted for an attack, it's going to be very difficult.
Yeah, it's social engineering. So like
So
some of the discipline, like also company policy, like
Yeah.
like let's say like if the company get used to receiving let's say Microsoft Docs from anybody, they can just open it. It's a vector already. So like
yeah.
what the company probably can mitigate it a bit is like to force everybody to use a file server. Everything goes through there. Like file server, like
Very
something
inconvenient, right?
like
Very
also Google Docs
inconvenient.
and stuff. That they don't actually open or access the document directly. Something like that might help out a bit. So it's about policy and also discipline for the whole chain, but it's gonna be inconvenient.
Yes. So either way, let's do this next week because we have.
But is this one
Right.
okay?
Let's do this
I'm
next
not an
week.
expert though. Do we have anybody that we can invite up here to talk about this? Like some of the your
I didn't GUI just do the capture the flag thing, the hack,
Yeah.
the
Yeah, I'm not
security
doing that.
hackathon.
You know
You should
what?
ask him.
Let's do. Do you want to collaborate with security lah?
Well, if you have someone in mind, sure, go ahead.
Yeah.
I don't think
I mean,
any one of them that I know want to talk.
I know them. I don't. I will ask lah. I ask lah.
Yeah.
They are long time HITV people, and all that. Because they got very good at this. So which goes to the next question. Will I continue on the voice assistant thing? Maybe, depends on my mood.
Depends on
Likely to happen in a way that it's my long-term project.
Yeah.
It's my long-term project because I need to make friends.
Oh, I was saying yep to some of the points. Sorry. It's not the end all be all thing. If you do this, doesn't mean that it's. I also don't get too fixated on the processes. It's like always remember why we are doing it in the first place.
Correct.
If we forgot about the purpose why we did this thing, it'll be just another process, another checkbox that nobody cares about.
Correct. So yeah, I mean, recently I also break some rules on this, so that's on me. There's a reason for it. Probably it's a bad way to do it, but there's a reason for it.
But most superstition starts from that, right? Like, don't eat this fruit because like someone died from it. Like that was
Yeah, like
2,000
I
years
think
ago.
the case is that historically is a tomato.
Yes.
They eat tomato. It was poisonous because back then the dishes, the plates were made from, what do you call the metal again? The
Lead? No, not lead.
some lead. Lead. I think lead.
Ceramic? Oh yeah, before ceramics. Before glazing, I guess. Yeah,
pewter.
something.
The lead pewter. I think.
Pewter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and lead reacts with acid, and that's what gave them like that what make it poisonous for for people.
Mhm.
Correct.
And then
So-
and then something superstitious happens, and then now you just believe that you can't eat this thing
Yeah.
without really knowing it. But then
Yeah.
the reason why your whole family survives, or like you got to this generation, is because people were not eating it at that point,
Yeah.
right? So it's
It's became a
two
cargo
sides of the
cult,
same
like,
coin. Yeah, but
but
it was beneficial at that point until it's not beneficial anymore.
Yeah.
Just-
it
not
should
not just
be it should be always just updated and revised, I think.
Yeah, there is some old security practice that doesn't make sense anymore.
The one that I'm going to recommend for reading materials, regardless of what is helpful for security as well, is the SIE book, which is free.
Yeah. Yes.
So check it out. It's free to read. The workbook is actually some stories and things, and it's actually good to read about horror story that happen in other people's companies.
and it's
how
good
they
to
do it.
refresh yourselves with these experiences again, with the superstition example, right?
Yeah.
If you always remind yourself why you are doing some things, then the causation, like why are we doing this behavior, it gets reinforced, and then it's not what you're doing, it's the reason why you're doing something that becomes the causation.
The one that SRE actually at least in this book, I don't know whether there's it's an official coin term or terminology yet. I don't know.
What
But
is
at least for SIE, like whatever that happened, bad happened, like let's say the server is down or something is having a bug, is a symptom
Yes.
of what is the cause. But in production, if we're gonna find the cause, it's gonna take us forever. So at least measure and everything that we can observe the symptom first. Then later we will actually gradually fix it. Fix it better or prevent it. But we need all
here's
this metric scheduling.
here's a good superstition: don't deploy on Fridays.
Oh,
Which-
that's so that if anything things go wrong, your weekend is gonna be toast.
That's the thing, right? But that's the thing. That's a symptom. Like, because if you have like a complete end-to-end continuous integration, it doesn't matter which day of the week. If you have like rotation of your developers, it doesn't
If you
matter. But
push-
then it's a superstition.
Yeah, if you push, you're gonna be built and deployed.
Yeah. But it makes sense for many companies because they do have a weekend, and people just like don't want to be bothered, or they don't have a pager duty or whatever on the weekends. So
I think also
the superstition
might be-
does work, but you have to remember why and how to improve on it.
I think also might be the release managing part is might be too rigid as well. You need a permission and somebody to sign off in order to release this.
Yeah.
Patch
And you
from
lose
that.
all 3 days, and then you forget what's happening because you did something on a Friday.
And
Or
we
change
will go
request.
through all this.
Takes a long time.
We will go through all this superstition, this operation
Cargo cult.
experience. and
What
cargo
are the modern cargo cults in tech again?
I don't
Object-oriented
remember.
programming is dead, and you should always use functional.
Yeah.
It's the
That's
bullshit.
a cargo
exactly.
cult
It's
nowadays.
not black and
But-
white.
Previously, is that
Don't-
you should use class.
Yeah.
I can spend 2 days talking about what it is. Like probably the FP methodologies that some people uses are actually originated from OOP. So it's not black and white.
That's the most common cargo cult that I've encountered so far nowadays. The functional, like, and don't
least-
use OOP because it's horrible.
At least if we need to when you do FP, when we say it's fast and when it's secure, we need to understand why it's fast and secure. It's just a good side effect. Like if you make sure that everything is nobody is sharing a pointer, something like that, then by that it's secure because nobody is gonna be mutating each other's like no forever.
Not just that, it's if you're forcing like FP, lots of FP on everywhere on languages that are not designed for functional,
You can
then
generate a
you're
lot of
just
garbage.
wasting memory because
You're gonna
like
generate
all
a
of
lot of
these
garbage.
Yeah, it's there, right? Because functional programming languages know to expect that nothing's mutating, and so they can
The
optimize
compiler
that away.
optimize it for you.
Yeah. So it's there are benefits, and so you will take some of the advantages of FP because of the non-mutation. Then
If you
it's
know,
easier to
learn why you have to do it, so that
exactly, it's the
regardless
same
of the
thing.
language you write, even on if you know the reason and you know how, as in the learn to have the, I mean, you have the foundation of these things, like you basically can do the same thing regardless of the language that you write.
Mhm.
Of course,
How about
certain
you,
language
Swimming?
force you to do it that way. That's
Yeah.
like one of our friends like to say is that it stop you from committing friction, shifting
Mhm.
yourself. So yeah,
How
that's
about you,
might be.
Swimming? What's a good
Yeah,
cargo code for you?
cargo counter. There's so many.
I don't know.
There's so many.
I live in a cave.
Database. So there's two different camps. One is SQL database is enough for everyone. The other one is that you should not use SQL database because it's not scalable. So I have two different
So
extremes.
MongoDB. MongoDB is
In my case, it's not MongoDB. In
no.
my
I
case,
mean
it is
MongoDB is
DynamoDB.
what do you call what was their slogan back then? No, it's cloud
Web
scale.
scale.
Web scale,
Web
yeah.
scale.
Cloud
Still can
web
apply, like
scale.
we just replace MongoDB with other no SQL.
Yeah. So
I think
there is
in terms of ease of doing analysis, the SQL way is still more superior. And even some of the data frame library, they try to do it. Yeah.
If your data is in tables, then SQL is superior because that's how you access table relational
correct,
data, right?
correct.
But if it's not on table relational data,
In the end, it's best tool for the best
it's
job.
going to be exactly.
It depends on how
Not
the
best,
work.
the right tool, not the best.
It depends on the dev preference on querying data.
Yeah.
Because let's say you use DynamoDB, then you have to write a set of code
Yeah.
to do a
But
query.
nothing is really what I want to say. Probably gonna be not so popular. Is nothing is really schemaless.
Yeah. Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
It
Well,
can
bandwidth,
really-
AWS bandwidth is expensive.
Nothing is really
You can get
schemaless.
stuff cheaper. Yeah.
Yeah.
No SQL or not, eventually you still need. I mean, you need a structure. You need a data structure in there.
There is a schema. It's either whether it's
Enforceable,
predefined
yeah.
or is it informal or formal, right?
Correct.
Because informal is like it's just on your code, the way you access it, but there's still a schema. You expect that this entity has a name,
Yep.
or like
Yes,
it's calling its name. That's already part of the schema.
Yeah.
So it's
I think it's
that's the
really
thing.
schemaless. It doesn't, using no SQL doesn't automatically solve your design problem. You still have to design it first.
Yeah.
If of course you can choose not to design it if you're working alone.
Yes. And also each tools have different way to do things. Again, my favorite is DynamoDB, which require you to design your query. In SQL, it's a bit less rigid, but you have to design your index.
Yeah.
That kind of index.
It's a surprise coming from Swimming. Like SQL is less rigid. That was the criticism of SQL, right?
Right? No. It's people think it's in fact, if you're going to enforce your data structure either way, then having a database that had that is somewhat easier. And nowadays, the feature is a bit more, it's somewhat equivalent in the way that major databases support complex data structure within a row. Even MySQL had JSON field nowadays. So
Postgres has a very complex way to handle JSON as well.
correct.
Comprehensive, not complex. Comprehensive.
Yeah. So nowadays it's not too bad. It depends on the developer familiarity with tools.
It goes down to measure. Always measure.
Yeah. Correct.
If you say it's the best, yeah, where's the number for that?
Correct. So we need to prove that.
It's not SQL. It's no SP. It's not
Yeah.
SQL.
So
It's-
instead of
I don't really hate it. I still use NoSQL.
yeah,
Yeah.
it depends
It's just
on
that
how you want to use
the
it.
one that
It's-
mainly I want to shit on is people that assume that you don't need to do this and that if you are using NoSQL, or the worst, people that use SQL just because they don't want to learn how to use SQL.
I have a last one before we go too far. It's okay. It's 11:10
Okay.
already.
Yeah, we have to wrap it up. Okay.
You do not need to learn. This is actually from DevKami. You do not need to learn backend technology.
Yeah,
Is that
sure. Then
cargo
you don't
code?
need to know
Cargo
what
code
happening.
as well, right? Yeah.
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 You don't need to know what's this. How do you optimize your code if you don't know the server, your limitation of the
What do you
hardware?
mean? I can just use Firebase.
That's
And
the
that's
point.
it.
So
Of course, you can
Firebase
pay
is
with credit card.
Firebase works about it.
Either you have credit card.
Yeah, this is an extreme form of just use a library. It's one of the more
yeah,
extreme
and
form of just use.
That's why you have. I think the biggest failure story is not to shit on Rails, but actually Twitter, when back then they have a failure.
Yeah.
Rails is very good for fast, fast development and stuff, but because they are naively serving all the traffic to a Rail backend, that what kills Twitter in the early days.
I mean,
Oh yeah,
there's
well,
ways
because
like
it's because the application grew. Well, the traffic grew
Yeah.
in size disproportionate to
When-
what the
When
application can
a
handle.
little bit of overhead get magnified, like of
Mhm.
course 1 millisecond extra is not big deal for us, but if you have a million of them, you're gonna be like, you're gonna cause things like thundering herd and all those weird issues that can happen.
correct.
So
You
sooner or
have a-
later we have to know about the system that we run on.
Mhm.
You'll have a
Or
domino
unless you
effect.
scale by having your
here's the
credit
thing
card
that here's the thing that a lot of many people who don't like to do backend will probably not know. Like there's a domino effect because once one of your workers die, the load is actually distributed to the rest of the workers, which will cause them to die earlier, and which is why that's why failure is almost catastrophic in these cases. It's not. It doesn't have a gradual failure. It's like
easy
catastrophic
to
immediately.
say why people feel like why this website fail when there's a traffic.
Yeah.
But
Like why
in
does
the
it
end,
not slow down at least?
Yeah.
It just immediately just goes down. That's the problem.
Halloween episode.
Halloween episode. Why system fails, and why do you need to at least not really have to go deep into knowing like how all these bits were flipped, but at least to know like what are the bottlenecks. Like if you do a lot of read write operation, then you need to know that that your this is the bottleneck, something like that.
Yep, Halloween episode, Journey into the Dark Dungeon of Backend Magic. With that said, I think we should say goodbye.
It's not exactly that magical. It's either CPU bound, memory bound, CPU IO bound. Only.
Yeah, we should say goodbye. Then if you want to continue this, we will do it next week.
Bye.
Actually, I don't have enough sleep for the past few days now, so with that said, thanks for indulging us. I hope you do. So, this is the.
We should talk about that. We should talk about that. The bottleneck.
Yeah, we should cover some of these.
It's not black and white CPU. I only like something like that.
Yes.
So we have a few shout outs. Let's quickly go through the shout outs. Tapir emoji is in review. Yes, we've mentioned it. I'm not sure what Nicholas and Wendy are talking about.
I don't know what.
What's
the chat.
What is that? Siapam main game 2. What does it mean?
What game?
Who plays the game? I don't know what game that is.
All right. I think Jason is appreciating our critique of the.
I don't know. The
data? No, I think we were talking about like the data presentation. And Wendy is saying
it's not a critique.
Yes.
We are not being too constructive as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, but yeah, we're talking about like what we would expect for a data analysis, like a basically better data analysis for these.
Well, long.
Yes, and we
Yeah.
went long. Yes. Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm so sorry. All right, let's say goodbye.
Yeah, go to
Thanks
bed.
for
Have a
listening.
good night. Have a good
Bye.
weekend.
Yes.
See you next
Bye.
week.
See you next week. Yep. And broadcast.